started. 6 o'clock. Pilates, here we go. Thank y'all for joining me on what is March 4th, my dad's birthday. He doesn't care, and he'll never do Pilates. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's actually start on our hands and knees today, which only reinforces how annoying my hair is actually. But we're going to take the wrist underneath the shoulders and the knees underneath the hips. You can try to find a neutral spine with a flat table. Take a breath in and exhale out through the mouth. And during that exhale, I mean, the first couple of times, if you want to just stay sort of relaxed, you can. But what I want you to do on the future exhale is try to draw your abdominals up and in without coming out of your neutral. So imagine almost like there's a ceiling here, and you're going to imprint the lower back to the ceiling. So just kind of a different thing. Instead of having your abdominals melt down into the floor while you're lying on your back, you're going to do the opposite. So inhale, you can relax in neutral, and then exhale, try to pull the abdominals up and in towards your spine, but not by rounding the spine. All right, part of the challenge is that you're staying in a neutral spine while you draw the abdominals in. Only on the exhale though. Inhale, you can relax those abdominals. Exhale, abdominals draw in. You can almost imagine like, I don't know, there's nails or something growing out of the floor and you really don't want the nails to touch you, so you're trying to shy away from those nails. That was kind of a weird analogy. A couple more breaths in this position. Inhale to relax. Exhale. Draw the abdominals in. Eye gaze is on the floor between your thumbs. And now we'll go ahead and move our spine. So inhale, really drop and relax the abdominals, feeling the arch in your back. And then exhale, as you draw the abdominals in, and keep drawing it up, up, up. Feel separation of the shoulder blades. Dropping of the head, tucking of the tailbone. Inhale, do the opposite of that. Lifting the chest as much as possible, lifting the tailbone as much as possible, and then exhale. Roundness, but not just roundness for the sake of rounding, but also drawing the abdominals up and in. One more time, inhale. And then exhale. Good. We're going to go ahead and come to our seated position and roll on down the mat, where we'll continue with our abdominals drawing in and the imprint. And this time, as you exhale and draw the abdominals down, you have the floor there. So you get this physical, tactile feedback of your lower back touching something. Inhale, return to neutral. You'll feel your tailbone on the floor. Exhale, imprint. Inhale, neutral. Exhale, imprint. One more time. And then back to imprint, legs to tabletop. Do that one at a time, just to make sure you don't shift out of imprint as you lift those legs. And we'll tap it out. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale to lower, keeping the knees bent at 90 degrees. Inhale, return. This is all about hip action only. So our knee bend stays at 90. My toes are staying pointed. You can also flex your foot. So that means maybe your heel taps the floor. But other than that, it's your hip joint that has movement. The thigh bone moves from about 90 degrees to about 135 degrees, right? A 45-degree shift. And our imprint stays steady. So abdominals aren't actively crunching right now, they're stabilizing. Good, one more time on each side, and gently press into those arms. I just kept my foot flexed there. And now both legs at the same time. I'll point my toes again. I have
haven't moved and squeezed my knees together, I'm keeping them hip distance apart, but I'm moving them in a synchronized fashion. You may move your knees and legs together to do them, to lower them both. And they kind of will have the assistance of each other. So it is a little bit, just a little bit more challenging when the legs are staying hip distance apart and moving as individuals, but moving in sync. The last one, is lower that all the way to the floor slowly. And then once your feet hit the floor, you can slide the feet in a little bit close to the butt for your shoulder bridge. Inhale to neutral. Exhale, imprint the lower back, press through the heels, roll up. Shoulders, hips, knees in one straight line. Inhale. Exhale, practicing the articulation, lowering one vertebra at a time. Coming into neutral. So your tailbone is on the floor. We're going to start this entire hip raise from the tailbone. Inhale. Exhale, slowly roll up, squeezing the glutes. Imagine you just picked a $100 bill off the ground with your butt cheek and you don't want to lose it. Inhale at the top. Exhale, keep squeezing the butt and lower it, and then release it. One more time. Inhale. Exhale, slowly rolling up. Inhale at the top. So we're just coming to neutral here. I'm not trying to push the hips as high as it'll go. Then exhale. Feeling yourself lower your spine inch by inch. Lifting the head, neck, and shoulder blades. Reaching the fingertips toward the toes. Inhale, hold. Exhale, release. So when both feet are on the ground, you have the option to stay in neutral or imprint. So generally, it's easier to stay in imprint. And it's also a little safer in the sense that you know your lower back is getting the support in the ground. But it is possible that you do this ab front movement with your feet on the ground in neutral. And it's a slight difference, but you'll feel a difference. So right now, if I have my tailbone lifted up and my lower back imprinted, I'm already starting to create that curvature. So I continue to create the curvature, lifting the head, neck, and shoulders. Now, if I decide I'm going to go to imprint, I bring my tailbone to the floor. There's a small space in the lower back. And what you want to do is pretend that you don't want to disturb that small space. Keep the tailbone on the floor as you crunch up. And it's really interesting how different this crunch feels, this ab prep feels when you're in neutral position compared to when you're imprinted. You do want to be careful though, because, so here I'm imprinted. I don't know if you can see the difference. It is neutral, imprint. So this is imprint. And then I'm going to go to neutral, imprint, neutral. And I'm going to maintain the neutral as I lift. Basically, I don't feel I can lift this high, but I feel it a little more intensely in my abdominals. Oftentimes we don't teach things in neutral, because it's very easy to go from neutral to arch. So if we teach an imprint, if you accidentally get out of imprint, then you go to neutral. And so arch is not good. Neutral is fine, but imprint at least prevents you from going to arch. Now we're going to go into hundreds. So today's 100, I'm going to try a different variation. You can have legs at tabletop, legs straight, legs on the diagonal. And today I'm going to do a little bit of a scissoring. So for every 5 counts, I'm going to switch my scissor. So I'm going between vertical and my high diagonal. All right, you don't have to do that. I'm just giving you variations of hundreds. So lifting head, neck, and shoulders, come off the ground. We are definitely imprinted now because both feet are off the ground. So maybe I'll do the first 10 like this. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 10. Inhale. And exhale. 20. Inhale. And exhale. 30. Inhale. Exhale. 40. Inhale. Exhale. 50. Keep your eyes on your knees. Exhale. 60. Inhale. exhale, 70, inhale, exhale, 80. On 90, I'm going to bring my feet together. And for the last 10, we'll have them together. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hug the knees in. Lower the head, neck, and shoulders. And let's warm up the spine muscles. Forearms on the ground. Inhale. Lengthening the back of the neck. Keeping it wrinkle free. As we reach the top of the head forward and lift the chest. Exhale to lower. Inhale, we lift. Exhale, lower. The whole time I'm lifting upward, I'm also thinking about lengthening my body. The top of my head is always reaching away from my toes. My toes are always reaching away from the top of my head. It's always more important to think about the length than how high you end up lifting. If you don't need the forearm assist, go ahead and reach these arms toward the toes. Maybe squeeze your shoulder blades together a little bit more. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Even though we're not lifting the tops of the feet off the ground, the legs are active. The glute is active. Last one here. Yeah, you can take the hand underneath your shoulders. Push yourself up and come into a shell stretch. Surrounding the spine and stretching that spine muscle that we just worked. Coming into our plank. So the wrists underneath the shoulders. Reach. Oh, why do I have my socks on? I've been wearing socks all day because my feet are cold. So it's hard for me to do the plank with my socks on. My feet will slide. Whew. All right, get rid of those. Didn't even notice my socks were on until right now. Okay, so the toes are tucked under. I get a nice kind of grip with the skin on this yoga mat here. Reaching the heels to the back of the room. And we want your arms vertical. Soften the elbows if you can. Try not to lock the joints out. And we're breathing. Inhale. And that same thing I talked about at the beginning of class, where you exhale and draw the abdominals up and in towards your spine. We're going to do that here. You also want to squeeze the butts and squeeze your quadriceps. Take 2 more breaths together. Eye gaze on the floor between the thumbs. Inhale. Exhale. You do want your abdominals drawn in the whole time, but the exhale is a good time to remind yourself to draw your abs up and in even more if there's an ability to keep drawing it up. Okay, so coming on down. You shake out those wrists if you need to. We're going to come to our half roll back. So here at the half roll back, and change in intensity based on where your arms are. Starting with the basic arm position. Fingertip reach forward, round the spine, going about halfway back until maybe the tops of your feet. Shoulders, stay down and relax away from the ears. Inhale to lengthen through the top of your head. Exhale then. We're going to try several different arm variations today, and you're always welcome to bring your arms right back to this base position of parallel to the floor. I'm going to try to keep the toes stay glued to the mat here. So variation number 1, not moving the back arm. I'm going to bring the front arm laterally to the side. So it's like 1 to the front wall and 1 to the side wall. Or that's the front wall, that's the side wall. Good, bringing it back forward again. So we're only moving 1 arm at a time. I'm not bringing the other arm across the body, stays straight forward. So you'll notice that this kind of increases the work on your felt in your abdominals. It's by changing the arm position here. And feel free to continue with this arm position, or like I said, keep both arms straight forward. We do 1 more.
Moving the back arm to the back. Again, there's no rotation here. Just moving at the shoulder joint. So what I'm going to do now is reach my arm up. Not too far back, but it's still slightly, I can see my entire arm mostly in front of my face. So let's try this. See how it feels. Okay, and then I'm going to drop an arm to the side. So front arm to the front. Top arm is still there. A little bit of a reach. Helps you reach there. And then back arm to the back. Just pay attention to how your abdominals and your lower back feels, because we are increasing the intensity by raising the arms. And by the way, I raise it to here, but you can also come a little higher above parallel, but not as high as I did. So there's a lot of different angles that you can play with your arms. Good, 2 more times. Front arm to the front. Again, we're not rotating, we're just moving the arms. Keeping our shoulders square to the direction that we're looking. Okay. We're going to roll all the way down. You can roll down with your arms in front, or for a little more challenging, you keep your arms high as you roll down. So as we do these roll-ups, you can decide where you want your arms to be. Going to give variations again. Base variation, anchor the heels to the ground, strong legs. Inhale, reach the arms up, nod the chin, peel your spine off the floor, arms reach forward. So immediately I'm bringing arms to parallel. Okay? My arms are reaching toward my toes. That's always going to help me with pulling the spine up, but also getting that weight of my arms off my abdominals. You can keep your arms parallel as you roll down as well. Keep the heel anchored to the mat. You can flex the foot or actively plunge. So here is another variation. You bring your arms forward on the way up. Stretch those hamstrings, and you bring it high on the way down. And then yet another variation is you're going to keep it high on the way up. So I'm going to try to reach up toward the ceiling as I start to articulate my spine off the mat instead of to my toes right away. So keeping it here, high, 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 and then I dive forward, stretch, reach it up again, and lower back down. I'm going to do all 3 arm variations again. And you can decide which one you want to do. So again, the first variation, I immediately reach it toward my toes, bringing my arms to parallel to the floor as soon as possible. Keeping my arms parallel to the floor and low right in front of me as I roll down. Option 2, I'm just continuing the roll up smoothly. Bringing it forward and stretch. And then here we're going to inhale, bring the arms up. Exhale to roll the spine down. So keep alternating the breath. Important things that you're breathing. And now for the final version, you're going to reach the arms higher to the ceiling the entire time. Exhale here. And it isn't until you stretch those hamstrings that you dive and reach your arms forward. But then as you start to inhale, you bring those arms right back up again. And then exhale, roll down. So you're going to feel in your abs on the way up and on the way down. You're going to feel your abs no matter what position your arms are, but you're just going to feel a little more intensity when your arms are high. All right, so we're done with the roll up. Go ahead and hug your knees in. So we're imprinted again. And we're going to move our limbs. Actually, what else have we been doing this whole time? All right, so we're starting with tabletop, and I have this is like the start of double leg stretch, which we are going to do, but we're going to do it in stages. So first, same side arm and leg. So here's my back arm and leg. It's going to reach away from each other. You can reach more to the ceiling.
You can reach a little lower on the diagonal. You're going to stay imprinted, and the other two limbs are not going to move. A lot of stabilization of the abs here. Front half. I guess you can flex or point your feet as usual. I try not to do everything pointed, but sometimes I forget and I just do everything pointed. It's sort of my default. But it's really good to get the different actions in your ankle and kind of get a nice calf stretch. So this is same arm, same leg, which kind of feels interesting, right? Because we often do things opposite. I'm keeping my feet hip distance apart right now, mostly because the legs are moving independent of each other. But when we do the double leg stretch in a little bit, we are going to have our legs next to each other, squeezing together. Okay, so now, not to greatly confuse you, but we're going to move opposite limbs. So my back arm and my front leg are going to separate from each other. I mean, they weren't together in the first place, but they're going to reach away from each other. And then return. Back leg and front arm. And basically, I'm just kind of keeping my leg and other arm where they were in space. Exhale, reach. Opposing limbs now. Try to stay imprinted, moving nice and slowly. And the left. Sorry, not left, the other pair. One more time on each side. Continuing to breathe, and you guessed it, the next thing we're going to do is double leg stretch, which is normally smack dab in the middle of the ab series. We're going to do it now. So far, I've kept my head, neck, and shoulders down on the ground. I'm going to lift it up for a few reps, but before I do, I'm just going to do double leg stretch. So both legs stretch out. Now everything is squeezing together, so no more space between the knees and the feet. You can reach the arms and legs on any diagonal. Feel free to reach higher on the diagonal, especially if you feel strain in the lower back or you feel the lower back come off the mat. If the lower back comes off the mat but you don't feel strain, that doesn't necessarily mean it's okay. You still really want to keep that lower back on the mat. Good. Let's try a few with the head, neck, and shoulders lifted. So here we crunch, definitely imprinted. Exhale, reach. Inhale, return. Exhale, reach. Inhale. Couple variations of double leg stretch. Since we've done double leg stretch so often, I'm going to actually double leg stretch into a scissor. And then you're going to switch the scissor. So what is this doing? One leg is a little lower, which is where it creates more challenge. One leg is a little higher, so it almost makes it a little easier on the imprint. It's like, because we know that if the legs are vertical, it's much easier to imprint, right? So it's almost like kind of, it does have a little more coordination to it, but it also kind of is a midpoint between something easier and something harder. And you can decide how much you want to scissor. I mean, technically you could scissor this much, right? Kind of goes right into what looks like our regular scissor. Or you can create a nice challenge of having a very low splits. A very little scissor in terms of distance from each other, but the legs are closer to the mat, so more challenge in the imprint. Do two more, any variation you like. You could do regular double leg stretch if you want. Okay, let's give our abdominals a little break. We're going to do the regular ab series later. And we'll do double leg stretch again. No, I'm just kidding, we won't. We're going to talk about alphabets. The I is the most challenging. It's when it's vertically in front. If that doesn't feel great for your shoulders, don't bother with it. You're going to do Y, which is to the side, and T. I am going to do all three, but what I mean by not doing the I is that it can just be a wider I or a wider or narrower Y. to a wider Y, and then to a T. Okay, so don't worry about going straight ahead. So if you want to lift your legs, lift them. They'll be nice and straight. If you don't want to, keep them on the ground. All right, we're going to start with a T. How do we feel? Chest is up, chin down, lengthened back of the neck, right? And then pull those elbows back. I'm going for the Y. Feels good to have the thumbs up, so we'll do it that way. And I'm lifting my legs, but remember, you don't have to. And now I'm going to go for the I. And again, it feels a little better to have my thumbs up versus palms down, but you can do any variation or any rotation of the arms. Just be symmetrical, meaning your thumbs on the right and left hand are pointing in the same direction. Going back to the T. So for the T, I have my palms down. I don't have my thumbs up, but you absolutely can. Okay, remember, this is just the symmetry of making sure right and left thumb are doing the same thing. Pull those elbows in. Inhale, Y. Exhale to lower. Inhale, I. So just a very, about shoulder distance apart line. And exhale. T again. Exhale. Y. And here's the W. Our elbows are down. And then the I. Okay. Feel free to continue doing it that way. I'm going to go from T, Y to I, and then relax. Okay, a little more endurance. Lifting up to the T. Bringing it to the Y. Moving it to the I. Pulling the elbows back and down, relax. 2 more times. T. My feet are apart. Y. I. Sometimes it's not the spine that's the limitation factor, but the shoulders, especially going for that I. Did I say 2 more times? Okay, this is the last time. T. Keep alternating the breath, by the way. Don't just hold an inhale for this long. And I. Relax. And push yourself up for the stretch. So spine work is always important. One of the other reasons we do spine work is just because it counterbalances all the ab work. And it breaks up this Pilates exercise, because if you're going to do all ab work all at the same time, it's too tiring. Okay, so now we're going to go back to tiring our abdominals out. All right, so ab series is what we're going to do right now. When we get to the double leg stretch, I'm going to do the double leg stretch variation, the standard variation. We'll get to that in a second. Okay. Head, neck, and shoulders can be up or down. Single leg stretch. Reach, inhale, switch, exhale, reach. Inhale, exhale. And again, for variation, for variety, reach the heels out. The neck and shoulders stay up. But you can always lower head, neck, and shoulders. Take the hands behind the head, rotate. Turning towards the knee coming in. And it's a slight rotation. Remember, so that both shoulder blades can stay off the ground. If you rotate too much, one of the shoulder blades just can't help but fall to the mats. Exhale. Inhale through midline, exhale. All right, so for the double leg stretch, there's this variation where you start with your legs in a diamond. I'm kind of turning my body so you can see this. And then from here, we reach up, like in our hundreds position. So this is the double leg stretch where we circle the arms, rotate the feet back. See my toes and my fingers are all going back out to the side and point again. And then you relax. It's called the extended double leg stretch. And that's an official Pilates choreography. All right, inhale, prepare. Exhale, reach. Imprint, right? Keep that imprint. Inhale, big circle. Exhale, hold. Inhale, come down. Exhale, squeeze inner thighs and reach. Inhale. Exhale. We're reaching again to where we pointed. Inhale to lower. Exhale, we squeeze and crunch up. Inhale for that nice circle. And when you reach the arm behind your head, you can decide how far back you want, but try not to lower your shoulders because you're reaching your arms too far back. Keep alternating the breath. So what I mean here, and by the way, you can have it on the lower diagonal, it's up to you. Right here, if you're circling so far back your shoulder and head comes down, that isn't what we're going for. The idea is that the head, neck, and shoulder blades stay up at the same height as you circle the arms. Reach, circle, feet, and arms. And if you notice what's happening with my legs, I'm going from neutral rotation to externally rotated back to neutral. I know there's a lot to think about here. Let's do this 2 more times. I'm in neutral. As I flex my feet, I'm still in neutral. As I start to rotate and circle my feet, I go out to external, point again, return to neutral. You can tell you're externally rotated when your knees and toes go out to the corners of the room. Last time, exhale here, inhale, exhale, inhale. All right. So we're done with the extended double leg stretch. So we've done so many double leg stretch variations today. And we got to do the scissor. So extend those legs up. Nice hamstring stretch here. Head, neck, and shoulders can be up or down. Inhale, switch. Exhale. Inhale, switch, exhale. And again, scissors is one of those things that I'm just so used to doing it with my toes pointed. But if you ever try doing scissors, your feet flexed, oh my gosh, it's so much extra stretch in the hamstring and in the calves. And I think part of the reason why I don't really like doing it with my feet flexed is because it's so much harder. I have restricted range of motion because of the tightness in my calves and my hamstrings. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. You can vary it up. You can do flex for 2 and pointed for 2 and flex for 2 and point for 2. Last pair, flex, flex, and point. Point. All right. Woohoo, abdominals are nice and fatigued again, but instead of going onto our stomach, which is what we usually do, we're going to go into our shoulder bridge. Shoulder bridges are nice. Make sure your feet are hip distance apart. We did this in the warm-up. It's a really nice hip flexor stretch, right? Because we're taking the hip flexor from a creased position to an extended position. So a lot of times when we do our hip raise exercises, we flex the hip again, right? By lifting the leg like this. So today, let's focus on keeping the extension in the hip. So what that means is we're still going to lift the leg, but we're only going to straighten the knee without disturbing the hip. Get our palms on the ground. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, lift those hips up. No need to articulate. We have that straight line from shoulder through hips and knees again. And now we're going to straighten the front leg without disturbing the hip. Good. And I'm going to make small circles so that the hip is mostly staying extended. If I make the circle too big, see there? I flex the hip again. 3, 2, 1, reverse for 3, 2. Try to keep that hip, both hips at the same height. 1. Okay, we might have done an extra circle there because I did a couple circles and then I started counting. We're aiming to do 6 circles, 3 in each direction. It's the quality of the movement that counts. So even if you did 2 in each direction, and they're just really, really slow and very high quality and you felt it in your muscles, then 2 is a great number. Extend the back leg or the leg that you haven't moved yet. And again, maintaining hip heights and making the circle so small that you're really not disturbing the hip angle too much. And there's 3. Reverse for 3, 2, 1. There's a lot more abdominal challenge when the legs are at an angle compared to when they're overhead. If you, by chance, prefer having your legs higher, go for it. Okay, we're going to try that again. This time, instead of making circles, we're going to pulse it. So it's going to be up and down lift, but very, very small range. So you don't have to think about the coordination of the circle as much. Extend, pulse. I'm going to pulse for 12. Squeeze the butt. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Keep the leg straight. 3, 2, and 1. If you need to lower your butt, lower your butt. If you don't, keep it up there. Straighten the other leg. Pulse for 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Butt cheek squeezing. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. One final variation. Lower butt. We're going to pulse again. Pulse means very small range of motion. Once we have our leg extended, we're going to pulse laterally. So my legs are going to go out, in, side to side instead of up, down. Small range of motion. Hips up. Extend the leg. Pulse laterally. 12, 11, 10. So I'm basically moving my leg a little bit towards you and then right back to where it started. This is a little more challenging than the up and down. My other knee keeps wanting to like shift too. So really try to stabilize your body. 3, 2, 1. Lower your hips if you need to, and then lift it back up. So concentrate on your bodies, not just your butt, but your abs as well. Press them to the floor with your hands. Try to have nothing moving but that pulsing leg, lateral pulse. I think I have to slow down because I can feel a lot of excessive movement in my body. That's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. So it's all about having that body awareness. So you know whether you're moving where you should be moving, and then you're not moving where you shouldn't be moving. Okay. So now we're going to flip back over into our stomach. So we did T, Y, and I. So now we're going to focus on the W. So earlier we did the W, our elbows are bent, but we didn't have our chest up when we had our elbows bent. We're going to have our forearms on the floor, and we're already in the W position, and we're going to lift everything. But once we're here, we're going to see if we can pull the elbows up slightly toward the ceiling to get a little more lift, and then even back down toward the butt or the feet to get a little more retraction of the shoulder blades. Okay, let's lower down. So think initial lifts and then increasing or sort of exaggerating the lift and pull. It's really interesting to talk about direction here because when I say down, it's down towards the feet, but technically it's parallel movement. It's a sideways movement because we're not standing. When we're not standing, it can't be down, right? But it's down towards your toes. Okay. I would say this goes from relaxed W to a more contracted, lifted W. Again, feet on or off the ground, it's up to you. If your legs are lifted, they're going to be straight. The quadriceps are engaged, toes pointed, and feeling your glutes. So my goal for you here is that you feel like your chest is open and your shoulder blades are squeezed together. And then you try to do even more of that. More chest open. More shoulder squeezing. It's like inhale to lift level 1 and level 2 a little bit more. Okay, last couple. Okay, and then sit back here. All right, we're gonna do some push-ups. So you can do push-ups on your toes, knees, or kneeling. We'll start with kneeling. Push-ups and Pilates are basically tricep push-ups. You have the wrist directly underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, so you're in a quadricep position. And from here, as you bend your elbows back towards your thighs, so not out, but back towards your thighs, your head is starting to lower towards the floor, a little bit ahead of your fingertips. Okay, that is one push-up variation. We're gonna do several. Inhale on the way down. Exhale on the way up. My elbows are probably roughly bending to about 90 degrees. Inhale down. Exhale up. If you do this nice and slowly, with concentration, abdominals brace, spine nice and long, and focusing on squeezing your elbows inward toward your rib cage, you should feel this, even if you're on your knees. Okay? All about technique. Now, let me show you this variation. Oftentimes, I'd probably show you this version, where if you drop back to your elbows, see how I shifted back, that you don't feel your triceps. This is actually a tricep push-up variation, but it's often done incorrectly, so most people don't feel anything because they shift their butt all the way back, and then they shift their butt all the way forward. So the only way to really make the tricep push-up of that variation work is that you kind of got to keep your butt out. So what's helpful is if you take your hands slightly ahead of you, all right, and see my butt? See it shift back? Don't let it shift back. See how I put my elbows down and my butt is still pretty much over my knees? And then from there, really squeeze your triceps all the way straight. Elbows down underneath the shoulders. So your arms are not vertical here to start. Feel it? I hope so. If not, please ask me questions in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. I didn't actually take away anyone's ability to unmute themselves. So there's so many ways of doing push-ups, but there's some ways where it's like sometimes hard for people to feel because they do the incorrect technique. Because it's easy to do the incorrect technique, right? So if we notice that my elbows are coming underneath my shoulders here, my hands are, which means my hands have to be ahead of my shoulders, and I straighten my arms, and my butt literally does not shift back. It does not move anywhere at all. My spine stays neutral. We've done a lot of these. This is probably too many. Okay, so I'm gonna give us a break, and then we'll come back and do some like chest push-up variations in a little bit. All right, I want to revisit some of our side lying exercises. I'm gonna again do this week's series on our knees. So feel free to roll up that mat. I just find it more comfortable for my knees to have double the cushion, but you don't need to do that. So I'd say this is the more advanced version of the side lying leg lifts. You can absolutely lay on your side though. The reason why I like to be at the front edge of the mat is so that when I tip to the side, I have everything against this imaginary wall that's just this plane of glass that's right in front of the edge of the mat. That's really important. This is piped. My hips have moved away from that plane and my nose is broken through. So we don't want to do that. Neutral rotation. Let me see your kneecaps and your pinky toe. This is external rotated, where the kneecap is facing up, and you probably can't see my pinky toe anymore. All right, lift and lower.
Oh, by the way, you can also flex your foot. It's really obvious to tell when you're externally rotated versus not externally rotated when your foot is flexed, because your foot is going to be parallel to the floor at all times when you're in neutral rotation. Good. Abs braced here, strong arms, stay lifted. You'll lift and lower, lift to about hip height. Inhale and exhale. Just keep alternating the breath. Last two. And last one, and let's stay up for the pulse for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so other side, we're gonna do, I think it was 12 slow ones. And by slow, I mean full range. And then 8 faster, smaller range. 3, 4, when we stop thinking, we sometimes just can't help but pike and just drop our butt back. So one way of helping to stay in that extended hip position is that you're squeezing your butt, which sounds weird because you're like, man, everything is hurting and I don't even know if my butt's squeezing at this point. But one way to know is that you're kind of pushing your hips forward just a little bit. And when you push your hips forward a little bit to press against this imaginary glass of pain, then it does work your butt. 2 more. Last one, and we pulse for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay. So other variations I've done in the kneeling position is little circles. Let's not do little circles today. Let's try something else. I call this a side kick, or it's called a bend and extend. You can kick low like this, or you can kick at, parallel heights. I wouldn't go higher than parallel. So here you have to break through this glass, this pain. I pulled my knee in front. And then as I kick out, I'm right against that plane again. Pain of glass. Fake pane of glass, imaginary pane of glass. Break through the pain, align yourself to the pain. P-A-N-E, not P-A-I-N, by the way. Even though I know that's what you're feeling right now. It's good muscular pain. Give me 4 more. And right here, as I'm straightening my leg, I'm feeling my butt squeeze and my quads. Simultaneous contraction of both muscles. Last one. And why is it a simultaneous contraction of both muscles? Is because your hip is extending at the same time your knee is extending. 2 joints moving usually involves 2 muscles. Is that more anatomy than you wanted to learn today? Probably is. I did 8, I believe, if I counted correctly. But the odds of me counting correctly is pretty slim. We're going to do 8, nice and slowly. Let's do 4 more. Break the pain. Get back behind it. Break a new one. The last one. Okay. Whew. That was challenging. Oh, since we're on our knees, just stand up. Oh no, my head's come up. Not the end of the world. So the typical way of doing push-ups and Pilates is you start from standing. And the reason I'm just going to do it this way is because it's a really nice stretch right here. So if you pretend you're up against the wall, and then you peel your head, shoulders, spine, and everything away from the wall, and you reach down and touch or hang out, reach toward the toes. It's a really nice back stretch, hamstring stretch. And then it doesn't last as we walk onto a plank. Now, again, like I said, Pilates push-ups are tricep push-ups. And if you want to do one on your toes right now, because that's the position we're in, do it. Otherwise, you drop to your knees and you do the push-ups that we were doing earlier. Okay? We'll try some of the toes. All right, inhale on the way down. Elbows tight. Exhale on the way up. Inhale. Exhale. Give me 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Head is just slightly ahead of those fingertips. And now you're on your knees. Come off your knees. You're on your toes. Start to walk those hands back. Drop the heels to the ground. You kind of go through downward dog. You should be feeling that stretch. In the original Pilates repertoire of exercises, because when I, you can come down and stretch. When I, actually, let's stand and do this stretch. When I tested out, they required that we memorize this very particular sequence. Like, it was like 30 exercises in a row. And they want it done in a very certain way, you know, from the warm-up stuff. And it's always pretty easy for me to memorize the warm-up. You've seen my warm-up. It's actually almost quite similar to what they had us do on the practical test. But, you know, after a while, like, I just couldn't remember exercising past the 10th exercise. But nor is it, like, super critical that you do in that order, right? In fact, variety is very important. But I think for testing purposes, they wanted us to understand why there was a certain flow of things. So all I remember is push-ups are at the end. And then we're doing neutral and imprint in the beginning. Anyways, thank you guys so much for coming. Always enjoy seeing you guys in Pilates.